G'day and welcome to Cuba Rio. I'm Matt Scolle and this is our first Uruguayan episode, and we start right up in the north of Uruguay at a place called Punta del Diablo and slowly wriggle our way down the coastline. It was a pretty fun and weather-filled week, and I'll get out your ears so you can listen to the amazing voice of one of my mates I made in a hostel in Punta del Diablo because, she's pretty great. And if I remember Helen's Facebook details and things, I'll post them in the description below so you can find more fabulous music like this.
I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possession. I wonder if you
Punta del Diablo is supposed to be my last surf town before of this trip, and I'm stood on one of the two granite headlands that stretches around the bay that define the Devil's Horns of the place's namesake. And I'm looking back on this amazing little fishing town that is a tourist hotspot in summer, but right now it's super quiet. And it's just got this infinite charm to it. It's all these little single-room fishing houses, the majority of which have these thatched roofs just sparsely spread out over this lovely coastal sand dunes. It's so beautiful. And to be honest, I rode into this place on a combi van I'd hitchhiked in from the border. And there's no better way to set a week here than coming in like that. It was perfect, and it captured me immediately, and I've been here for 6 days ever since. But the surf itself, which was what I came here for, is pretty darn chilly. The waves are not too bad, as you can hear in the background here, but the water itself is South Atlantic cold. It's so freezing. You come out of that water several sizes smaller than you went in, and I must say I've never looked better this whole trip in 9 months because everything was sort of sucked in tight. But it's the hostel that I'm staying at is one of those hostels that has more staff members than guests, and I love the feeling you get around those hostels. And so, for instance, one day we wanted to go for a walk when it wasn't raining. It's rained about 3 of the 6 days I've been here, but we wanted to go for a walk on this particular day, and the whole hostel came along. It was so nice. Everyone was walking up to Fortress Santa Teresa, which is a fortress the Spanish built in 1762 on the old ruins of the town of Santa Teresa. Basically, Uruguay is the buffer country between the Portuguese and Spanish empires back in the day. And so this fortress is built to sort of buttress the Spanish interests in the area against Portuguese invasion from land and sea. So Santa Teresa is about 12 kilometres from the hostel, and we all walk there, and it's in this huge national park just north of Punta del Diablo called Parque Nacional Santa Teresa. And it's the strangest place to be in because of this. Just have a listen to that. That is the sound over thousands and thousands of eucalypts, gum trees. Their little leaves slapping together like 1,000 little leathery tambourines. And it took me back home so well, this place. I absolutely adored wandering through this. It was Australian bush in Uruguay. It was the strangest feeling. But we came back to the hostel and I got cooking, and I must say cooking has been another hallmark of my stay here in Punta del Diablo, because every night I've been making this single pot risotto because the stove here only has one burner that works, and basically over the course of the trip here, the size of that risotto has been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because I was initially making it for myself, perfecting the recipe, then I made it for 4 people, and this guy's face was surprised when he saw me buying 4 times the usual ingredients. And then the night after that I was invited to make the staff's dinner because the chef had his day off for a staff of 13 people. So yeah, I made this massive amount of food, and the whole time, as you can be listening to, there's been guitar circles at this hostel.
Lady, running down to the midtime, taken away on the dark side. I want to be your left-hand man. I love you when you're singing that song, and I got a promise.
So lovely. My fingers finally have blisters on them that they have not had for some 9 months from all the guitar playing and singing that we've been doing. And it's just this sort of vibe that traps you into Punta del Diablo and makes it the sort of place that you never really want to leave. And just before we leave Punta del Diablo, I forgot a major part of the eucalyptus tree story, so let me take you back there for a second. And it wasn't just that there was eucalypts in this amazing national park, it was what was in these eucalypts that made it so incredibly special. And there was these little guys, which are these delightful green parrots, which look like normal parrots, except they are prolific nest builders. And we're not talking about your tiny little 2 birds and 1 egg nest. These nests are these gargantuan bloody twig constructions that take up, some of them were like the top third of these huge trees. They were about 3 meters long in some cases, with multiple little parrot families living inside them, and they were the most excitable little things, but their architecture skills were just incredible, and it really turned what was an Australian scene into a thoroughly Uruguayan one. Five days of cabin fever was far too much for me in Punta del Diablo there, so I had to escape regardless of the weather. And it just so happened that today was one of the largest storms Uruguay has witnessed this year, and this is me in the bus. And the wind was blowing the bus into the oncoming lane. It was that strong as it rushed across the Uruguay's pampas as we're making our way down to Cabo Polonio. And where better to go in a terrible storm than a place that doesn't have electricity, because most of Uruguay and parts of Montevideo even were rendered without electricity in this event. It was an absolute cracker. But the Cabo Polonio is well off the beaten track, and so beaten is the track that the surf had destroyed about 2 kilometres of the track that leads to Cabo Polonio. So the truck that we paid some good money to take us into town just left us stranded in the dunes in the twilight in these raging 90-kilometre winds, just like to wander across the dunes with all our luggage, with all our bags being blown around us as we're getting knocked sideways. It was mad coming into this place. But then we got to our hostel and things changed immediately. We settled down and we had it's well known for its hippie culture here in Cabo Polonio, and so my host grows his own goods behind the house in a greenhouse that was being destroyed by the wind. And greenhouse is a very appropriate term for what was being grown in this place. But it was a lovely night with some Uruguayans and Argentinians playing cards and the like. Just having the wind whip around the house the entire time. It was absolutely madness. And in the morning, thank God, it was sunny. And I made my way to the gorgeous lighthouse here at Cabo Polonio, which hosts quite a large seal population behind it. These are called lobo marinos, and they sound so different to all the seals that we saw in the Galapagos Islands there. And they were very happy indeed to see the sun, but a bit disturbed by the dogs that were following me around this morning. And so that's why they're making all these noises of distress. But in the background there is this. Huge surf. And you need to play this bit of the podcast with a proper subwoofer to capture the incredible bass that these 5 and 6 meter waves are just grinding the coastline are making. It is a gorgeous sight to behold. And Cabo Polonio is really, it's a standout because of this particular weather and the experiences it took to get here. And this week I managed to catch up with our first Finnish guest of the podcast, and she was absolutely a fantastic person to talk to. I met her in Montevideo, and hoping to catch up with her again in Buenos Aires next week when I make it there. So enjoy this. It's a cracking interview, and I love sitting down and having a chat with this person.
My name is Annukka. And I'm from Finland, where the real Santa lives.
Where the real Santa lives in Lapland, exactly. Yeah. And I don't know, you're the first Finnish person on the podcast. Ooh, what are you doing down in South America?
Well, at the moment I'm doing my internship in Santiago de Chile. I've been there for 2 months, and now it was time for 1 week vacation. So that's why I'm in Uruguay at the moment.
Well, before we get on to what you're doing in Chile, what do you like about Uruguay? How have you?
Well, I loved 2 days ago when it was nice and sunny. It was I feel like the people here are super friendly, and
you got like the royalty treatment by Uruguayans.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. That was crazy.
I met this lovely Uruguayan woman just like on the plane. I was sitting next to her. And she went to do some shopping in Santiago with her daughter. And
as you do. It's just, we've got to pick up some shoes over the Andes. Let's just go.
Yeah, she said that Uruguay is so much more expensive, so that's why they go shopping in Santiago de Chile. And I thought Chile is expensive, but then I got here and I'm like, dang.
Uruguay is bleeding me dry.
But so they brought me to their house to have a really awesome lunch.
Just straight off the plane.
Off the
plane onto the red carpet into a limo into their home.
Yeah. And they had pool and everything, swimming pool, and it was like, it was awesome. I stayed there like 6 hours chatting about everything, like what's happening.
That speaks so much to the openness of South Americans as a whole. Yeah, has that happened to you in other countries as well? Because you know quite a bit of South America.
Yeah. Actually, that has happened to me in every single country I visited in Latin America. That's why I love this continent. It's amazing because I think Europeans are a little bit more reserved with strangers. Yeah, like more maybe skeptical.
What are your intentions here?
Exactly. So I just found that Latin American people in general, they are super like open and warm, and they open up their doors to strangers that they don't know about.
Yeah. So how's it been living in Santiago in Chile? Because that's a massive city.
Yeah, it's I was doing my other internship in Mexico City, so I already got a little bit used to the pollution and the traffic jams and all that. Yeah. But both cities I love. Santiago is really, it's not as big as I would have thought first. But yeah, there's heaps to do, and because I love dancing,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of like dance scenery and all that. And but what I don't like is when I bike to work,
Yeah.
and because of the traffic and everything, and they have no respect for
Cyclists.
people. Yeah, no, so that's like the dodgy part of the traffic when you're on bike and
Well,
you're
that's
like more
something
vulnerable.
Chile and Australians have in common.
Really?
A common dislike for cyclists on the road.
Ah,
Damn, it's for cars, you bastards.
yeah, yeah, it looks like that. But yeah, so the blonde hair doesn't help.
Yeah.
Usually it does, but when I'm on bike, it doesn't.
And were you doing similar jobs in Mexico City compared to what you're doing now?
Yeah.
What was the one you were doing in Mexico?
Well, I did my internship for the embassy.
Yeah.
Also there, but it's only 3 months.
Mhm.
But because I loved it, it's super interesting, fascinating. So that's why I wanted to do another internship also at the embassy, because it's just like you. And I feel like not one day is similar,
Yeah.
because
It's an awesome job. So Chile, Finland's got embassies in Buenos Aires, Santiago, and Mexico City, right?
and Lima.
And Lima. So
Yeah.
what are Finland's interests in South America?
Well, I don't know. It's not just like that we have interest in South America, but it's also for people who travel, Finnish citizens. We have to have embassies there.
Yeah.
But I think Sweden has a lot more embassies in the world. But so yeah, the interest I think is more spreading knowledge also, and trying to cooperate and help the countries that don't have like so much yet, like renewable, like what comes to renewable energy and all that.
Yeah.
So, and also because for example, Chile and Finland, they share, like, we have a, how's it called, mineria?
Mining, yeah.
Yeah, and all that, and I would say there's some similarities in the culture, even
Okay.
though, because
What sort of things? Because I'm not too familiar with Finnish culture. I do not know what similarities there would be with.
Well, I think we do. Well, for example, with the well, I've heard this, like, because Chile, they said that Chile has always been good at football, but they never won.
Right.
And it was like the same with us with ice hockey. That our guys are super good, but it's like we never. I think,
Always lose to Russia.
like, I think this is like this. Or Sweden,
Yeah.
and with the same Chile and Argentina.
All right. You've
So
got
they
the
said that there's
rivalry.
like some kind of similar mentality. I don't know if there's like a lack of self-confidence when it comes to the, like, reaching a goal, or I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say, yeah, all the Latinos that I've seen, Chileans are maybe a little bit like
Mm-hmm.
shyer than other Latinos. So I think that there's some similarities in the personalities, and I don't know.
Yeah. So what sort of events happen at the Finnish embassy to promote Finnish culture or things
Well,
of this nature?
for example, now that I've been there only 2 months, we've organized already like one seminar, and now there's another one coming up for education.
Okay.
So a lot of, like, universities are asking if the ambassador could come to speak about Finnish education, or even like
So what are the Chilean interests in the education system? Like its structure, or like?
I think structure wise, and also like in practice how it works, like what's our system like.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know if they want to learn something, or maybe take some hints, but because you can never implement directly something.
Yeah, of course.
So just to get to know it better, so that maybe they can adapt a little bit of it to their system. We'll see. I don't know. But
So,
there's a huge
yeah.
interest. Always when I say in Chile, when they ask where I'm from, and when I say I'm from Finland, they go like, "Oh, education." And I'm like, okay. So it's really well known.
And what's built into those perceptions of Finnish education? What do they know of?
They usually, it follows when they say, "Oh, education. You guys have one of the best ones in the world, right?" The system. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, the recent years, it looks like it's been like that, but...
So what are some of the features of Finnish education system? There's free university, I know that.
Yeah, free
You guys
education.
get €500 a month just for being young people.
Just for
You
studying.
bastards.
Just for study. I think I think like even in the primary school,
Mhm.
you see that it's so much more relaxed than in other countries because we don't have exams that are graded.
Yep.
And we have hardly any homework. Like we go to school when we're 7 years old,
hmm
and
What on earth do you do for those other 2 years? Just be a child for
yeah,
2
to
years. More
play.
years.
That's what children are supposed to do, right? Play and have fun. No, but we have preschool though
Yeah.
when we're 6 years old. So we have preschool, but yeah, it's because I think Finnish school system we started like through playing.
Yeah.
You get to be more
You
creative.
start doing
and-
algebra with finger painting and learning to code computers.
But yeah, it's like it's usually when children are asked like, oh, like the holidays are almost about to over, like summer holidays or something like that. So going to school, how do you feel like? And people, children are like, oh, we're looking forward to it because you get to see your friends, and it's fun because it's not too overloaded with homework and
So it's
and
not
grading
results orientated.
No,
So
not at
what's
all.
the outcomes? Because Australia is obsessed with measurable outcomes,
Yeah.
and we just implemented like a national sort of exam that
Yeah.
you'll take when you're 8 years old. You'll take when you're 12 years old. You'll take it when you're
Serious?
16.
We have only one. That's
well,
what we finished.
That's because the Australian
We
government wants to have all this data so they can know which, like, the money they put in, whether it will have outcomes. It's
Yeah.
outcomes. It's like exam results driven.
Wow.
The outcomes. But how would that differ to?
In my country, because it's really hard to get to the university to start to become like to how do you call it, the pedagogical career. If you
Yep.
want to be a professor,
Yep.
a teacher, it's like one of the with doctors and journalists and all that. It's almost as hard to get in, and
It's
like
what
a lot
it
of
needs
people.
to be.
Yeah, and a lot of people want to be professors because it's actually they have really high status in the society. They're really respected because they have to go. I think it's 5 years, the master's degree to become a professor, and I think there's a lot of trust in the professors.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not so regulated, like what they can and can't do, and that's why we don't have national exams because we put a lot of trust in the professors and teachers because they've gone through a complex and really how do you call it? Well, the master's degree, it's like
That's so. It's heartening to hear that there is that degree of trust still in the world because all the Australian systems are sort of geared towards undermining a teacher's position. Like, for example, in my state, in New South Wales, from I think it's next year, no teacher will have a long-term contract.
Oh.
They will all be on single-year contracts and will have to renegotiate that contract year after.
Wow.
Yeah, and so their positions, like it's not a highly held position in society. It needs to be up there with the doctors and the nurses, but instead people can get a teaching degree with really low marks, like 60, 70%
Yeah,
in some
that's-
universities, and it
that's
needs
not
to
the
be
case.
90 or above.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's so wanted profession in Finland. So actually, the top students get into the university career of becoming it. Like that's
Yeah.
why they are the most motivated, and yeah, that's like their passion then to become a professor or teacher. So it's So I think
more
that-
jealousy about these damned Nordic countries. So, in working in the embassy, then, do you come in contact with a lot of high Chilean society?
well, I've met a few ministers, but not like like chatting for hours and hours. But
What's the diplomatic protocol like with those high people?
actually, I don't know if it's because it's a Latin American country, but I feel like they're really warm also, warmest people, and with the cheek kiss, or how do you
Kissing.
call it, kissing, yeah, on the cheek and all that. So, but I've seen. I don't know if it's because I look really young and I'm not so professional or something.
Coming in your jeans and shorts.
So they
thongs.
treat me like
Yeah.
that because of that, or are they for everyone like that? But yeah, it's I would say it's not as stiff as in
Yeah.
like the protocol and everything that in the
So is the conversation with these ministers and like always about high-minded foreign affairs, or
actually they're more
do they ask you
interested.
about Snapchat? How do you use it? What is it?
No, I think they're more usually interested when they see this, like, oh, so where you been in Chile, and like they ask about my travels and my opinion about like, yeah, I feel like they want to know more about
Your
my life,
perspective on them.
than anything else, but because it's usually all these events that I've been to, like because there's always that informal chatting after some, if there's an inauguration of a museum or something like that, and there's a culture minister there, or you know, like
How many ribbons have you seen cut?
quite many, because I'm like
3 months.
yeah, it's we get so many
At least
invitations.
4 every week.
Yeah, we get so many invitations, and I share an office with the cultural advisor,
Okay.
and she's always like, oh, you want to go there? I'm like, yeah, let's go. So we go
So
to
yeah, you were mentioning this the other day. So it's like invitations to opera and jazz.
yeah,
and...
there's like, if there's an inauguration of like, now there was jazz Chile Europa.
Mhm.
So then there's like, if there's a new art gallery, that there's like inauguration for that, or if there's and sometimes we just get tickets to opera, or then oratorio no sé, in English if it's the same word, but
Oratory, which I've learnt
Oratory.
is slow-paced opera.
yeah, with not
How
so much
can we make
happening
this
in there.
weird singing more boring? Slow it down.
But yeah, so it's because, and I'm fascinated about life in general, so I'm like, when people ask me like, who wants to go, I'm like, yeah, I go. So people are just like, what, you've been from football mats?
Yeah. You haven't had an early night this week.
No, usually I go home just to sleep, and sometimes even have a shower. Other than
nice.
French.
I know, it must be a hectic lifestyle because you spent all yesterday sleeping
Oh,
on,
yeah.
on holiday.
But that was because of the weather also.
Yeah, Montevideo has been rubbish.
Oh yeah, but I think it's gonna get better tomorrow.
Yeah, it hasn't. I've got the microphone angled at the window, hoping that it'll capture like the crazy wind that's whistling past and everything. But I'm not sure if that's being picked up at all. But I mean, what do you like about doing these embassy jobs? What are you hoping to become in the future?
No, I'm also doing it because I want to know more and learn more, and I feel like that's one of the best places I've ever been to, like worked at, to get like bigger perspective on not just political stuff but cultural.
Yeah, we've
also.
talked about all this, but I don't actually know what your work is. What's your day to day? Are you making spreadsheets or?
I'm just making coffee. No.
Photocopying.
No, I actually, it's really kind of like jack of all trades there, because yeah, sometimes I go to seminars, say about the rights of indigenous people like Mapuche or Rapa Nui. So I go to seminars and I take notes and I tell, because a lot of times the people that actually work full time there, they don't have time because it's a small embassy.
Yeah.
So they don't have time to go to all the seminars and all the reunions and all that. So for example, the EU delegation has for political and then cultural advisors, they have different meetings. So I go there, I take notes, and I tell what they talked about, and reports about, well, for example, at the moment, immigration is it's not as like in Europe what happened, but there's a lot of Haitians and Venezuelans that are coming to Chile at the moment.
Every bus I was on in Colombia heading south was full of Venezuelans escaping Venezuela and heading to Argentina and Chile.
Yeah. So like reporting like the numbers of what's going on and maybe trying to analyze a little bit how it's gonna change Chile and all that, And then then those informal dinners, just to have to look pretty and chit chat.
Talk a little bit more about Finland. Yes, we're 5.5 million people.
And then we and then like some visits that we've had, like our ex-president came to Chile to talk at the it's in Spanish Cepal. It's like ECLAC. ECLAC. It's like the one of the OECD sections of the economy.
Oh, right, okay.
So there's the headquarters of Latin America is in Santiago de Chile. So she came to talk about the gender equality.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had that visit, and then prior, how's it called? Viceministra de Relaciones Exteriores. It's like the foreign
affairs minister.
Minister. Yeah, she came also just for 2 days for a visit, and there was like also this conference about what's going on in Northern Europe and like all the
I'm wondering, is it hard representing the best country in the world?
The best,
because everyone around you would be like unfavorably comparing their country. They would be like, oh, we have this issue, female education is down, our representation of women in parliament is nothing compared to Finland, I don't know, indigenous relations in Chile are in a bit of a mess compared to what you guys are doing, sharing that territory with Sweden and everything in the north. Like, God damn you.
I don't know. It's I would say we have our issues also. It looks
what
like
what issues? There was a homeless man who only had one shoe the other day. It was headline news.
There's no homeless people in Finland. It looks good on a lot of statistics of Finland. Yeah, we rank the top in many of the lists.
Yeah.
But then again, we do have issues with alcoholism and domestic violence and all that, and depression. So it's not perfect. It's not like it might look that it's pretty close.
But even then, the state has got its hands on the right levers. Is it the same in Finland? Like the state owns all the alcohol selling points.
Like it's like monopoly for like in Sweden.
Yeah, the state. Yeah, and so they can just increase the prices whenever they want and hurt alcoholism. Like, you guys are just well poised on everything. God damn the Finnish.
But I think it's a huge advantage that we are so few.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the government could actually support like the students that we get money just to study and all that. I don't know if it would be possible if we are like 40 million.
Even if you're the same size as Australia, like I would love to like replicate a lot of what you guys do, but there's no way you could scale that up to a population of 24 million. And also a population that doesn't generate the same amount of revenue, because we've allowed poverty in Australia to take hold. Like, there's 3 million Australians that are living below the poverty line.
Really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And we're sort of sliding towards that US model slowly. And with every step we not like go down a notch, it's going to be harder to pull it back up to that higher standard.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like Nordic people in many cases are really privileged, but I think that's partly also because we are so few in the world.
Yeah.
So it's easier for our governments to support the citizens because there are not too many of us.
And I think you guys use that privileged position well. Like,
I'm hoping so, but I don't know.
Well, as we were talking about the other day, how you project like an environmental message, helping countries like stabilize their green policy so that Finnish companies then come in and invest in renewable energy and the like.
With the crisis management also. But then again,
the crisis management bit was interesting. Could you explain that a little bit more to me?
Well, I don't know way too much about it, but just now here I've learned that Finland has a really good system. Like, we have a center for crisis management in the city where I come from.
Yeah.
And we send sometimes experts to say Afghanistan or something like that, and I think in EU in EU also there's like some Finnish experts that work with the issues, like it's civil crisis management that we're good at, like
Yeah.
so a lot of people, a lot of countries, they only have how's it called, militarians
Yeah.
that are sent to like crisis management
Yeah.
to do their
And
like,
so
in different
then you
places
guys
of the
come in
world.
and help establish the
Like the
civil
civil-
society and the government structures that need to support.
Yeah, like
things.
we're like, yeah, this, like we just kind of like have, I don't know, seminars or something like that to try to explain our system and how we've done it. But I didn't know about this like until recently, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But I do have to tell you that even and in Finland when I'm there, I can see people who haven't traveled, people that hasn't traveled outside our country, because I feel like they take for granted so many things that we have.
Yeah.
And for example, they are nagging about, the study grant that we get for free and we never have to give it, but it's not enough. And it's like, dude, like we don't have to pay for studying, it's free, and then we get money for study. It's like not many countries, and then they nag about, like it's not enough. It's like, dude, go to
Anywhere else in the world.
yeah, like these Nordic countries I think have that system. So I'm like, they don't know how good they have it
Yeah.
sometimes, because sometimes I get really pissed off when I hear people nagging about stupid stuff that is like, oh, come on, no other country almost like, oh yeah. So that's the frustrating part, that people don't know how good they have it, and if they don't travel around and see a little bit how it's
Exactly.
in other countries.
So now I admire and am and rather envious of your ability to just jump around. So what's the future hold for you? Where are you headed next after Chile?
Oh, I'm gonna go to Dominican Republic for 2 months, and then to Brazil to study. So I really have to pick up the Portuguese
that's
really
the
quickly.
amazing thing about your system as well. You've been like being paid to study in other countries where your €500 a month goes so much further.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah, I think the globalized world is all the time more competitive, and there's people that, because of the globalization and the movement and everything, I think there's already people that speak fluently since they're like 4 years old, like 3 languages and all that. So because we're not many in the world, I think the school system, like the universities and the government, wants also to support that we would have experiences
In other parts of the world.
Yeah, in other parts of the world, studied. Well, it looks good on CV, and no one else speaks Finnish than Finnish people, so we kind of have to learn other languages. if
So
we
you've
wanna-
got Spanish under the belt, you want to learn Portuguese, and you also want to learn French, but in Africa. Why?
Well, because France is one of the European countries,
Yeah.
so for me more
I have a feeling the
exotic,
internships might be a little bit more competitive in Paris.
Yeah, that too. And it's Africa I'm fascinated by it, because I've only been to the south and the north, but never to the heart of Africa. So it would be cool.
What are you eyeing off, like country-wise? Ghana or?
No, I want to go to, I don't know, maybe. Well, I would love to see also the Portuguese-speaking countries in like Cape Verde and Mozambique and Angola, but to learn French, I think like Senegal or Congo might be a little bit too exotic.
You'll be seeing an awful lot of those crisis management Finnish people coming through the door of the embassy.
So maybe to work in that area one day, but not just to go to learn French in Congo, or Cameroon or Ivory Coast. I don't know. We'll see.
You will see. Well, let's end on this one then. What's it like working in Finland in Chile? Because every time you step past that gate, you go into a different country.
What's it like to work? Well, I really like it. The Finnish system, we don't have like this really strong hierarchy.
Yeah.
So I'm really blessed to have so awesome coworkers, and that was the same in Mexico also. It's just it's the atmosphere is, even though it's it's the work is formal and all that, but it's still like relaxed, and you can talk about everything, and it's I feel privileged to be working with such an awesome people.
And get all the labour
Benefits of it.
benefits and like being paid in euros sounds
Yes.
awesome as well.
Yeah, that too is a nice bonus.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thoroughly envious of your role in the world. We'll see.
It's a teeny tiny, small, it's like invisible, but I love
It
learning.
is invisible, but I love that people are doing those jobs. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because you learn so much. Like I feel like the work teaches me more than I give to the work, you know. Like, so hopefully one day it's gonna be.
Look, when you
Around.
enroll yourself in the Finnish Secret Service and start like making hits on people around the world in all your languages, that's when you'll give back to Finland.
Right.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
And ciao.
This song of freedom is all I ever had. Redemption song. Redemption song. Emancipate yourself.
And that's it for another week. And if you enjoyed what you're listening to, make sure you leave a review on iTunes, as it'll help us climb up in those travel charts. In addition to that, on the days where there was decent weather, I took some mildly decent photos of Cabo, Polonio in particular. So make sure you check them out on the Facebook page. That's Cuba de Rio in Facebook. And that's it. Next week is our two capitals. We're going to hit Montevideo and make our way down to Buenos Aires of Argentina as well by the end of the week. So it's a big one coming up, and I'll see you then.
It's all I ever had. Redemption song.